Hi guys, my name is Nara and I'm here to answer some of your questions about twin flames. So I've been on Twitter for quite a bit talking about this, and I'm so excited to finally be on YouTube because oh my gosh, I've just my ego has been getting in the way of me making these videos. Finally, I was just like, let's go, let's get it, let's do it, let's get back on this channel, let's make some videos because there's a lot that needs to be talked about. And I'm just really glad that I've connected with you guys and you've been, comfortable enough to send me these questions to trust me to answer them for you. And all I have to say is that I'm providing answers, but your soul already has these answers. I'm just helping to remind you of what's already there. This is about soul remembrance. So I'm just here to help, right? You're the one who's going to find all these answers also. Please keep that in mind. And let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with this question. Is it possible that one of the twins has a lot of relationships during separation and the other one has none, like spirit pulls away any other person that they get interested in? Thank you. Yes, that's absolutely possible. So if you're the one who's had the awakening after this entire connection, you could be like completely celibate, completely to yourself, like the universe is just not allowing you to have connections at the time, and that's totally fine. That happened to me, and I actually chose that in the beginning, to be completely celibate, to not date, to not talk to anybody. After having my awakening and figuring out what this whole thing is, I was like, yo, I need to just be on my own and really focus on my ascension and aligning with this, because there's a whole shift happening. Like, you're literally going from unconscious to awakened for the most part. For a lot of people meet their twin flames, and when you're going through that process of really shifting out of the ego and having your ego die, like, you need as much time and energy as possible. Like, it's no joke. That whole process is a lot of inner transformation, so it's really important to be on your own. So yeah, sometimes the universe will also help with that, and like the people you try to connect with, it just does not work out. But if your fear-based energy is pushing towards your twin flame, and it's like wanting your twin flame to come back, that's fear-based addictive energy that they are also going to feel, right? But then their focus is going to be on anyone but you, because you're focusing outside of yourself. They will focus outside of themselves also, and so they're going to need to be connecting with all these different people to try and get rid of that energy, or like spend it, like expend that energy, that addiction, right? So you want to be really mindful of that and know that it's all just part of the process. Next question. How are twin flames different than karmic partners? Is it normal to miss your twin flame so much it hurts, causing you to go back to them multiple times even though you feel shitty being with them after a while? Is it love or convenience? Ooh, I love these questions, you guys. Okay, so I don't usually like to use the word karmic, and that's because I really just feel like that word is so overused in the twin flame community that it's like, yo, any time that your twin flame gets with someone else, it's a karmic. Like, what? Karmic usually has a negative connotation to it, and that's not the case. Like, your twin flame can be in a soulmate connection that's completely loving and healthy, and they can be happy, but it's just your ego does not want to accept that, so it labels it as karmic because that makes the ego feel better. It's not that every single person that your twin is with other than you is a karmic. They're just with someone, and that's how you have to see it. So twin flames are very different compared to karmics, because a twin flame will literally trigger a spiritual awakening in you. A karmic, I'll use soulmate in this case. So with a soulmate, you can experience really triggering stuff also that, really puts you through it, but it doesn't bring you to a point where you have a spiritual awakening and you have a massive ego death and go through dark night of the soul and, the way a twin flame would. So the twin flame's purpose a lot of the times is to really be the catalyst to your entire awakening. So you shift from unconscious to conscious all in one go. Some people meet their twin flames after they've already awakened. That's completely normal and fine too. But yeah, that's the difference, is you'll actually have a spiritual awakening after 3D separation with your twin flame, whereas a karmic, you wouldn't. So you feel like you need to go back to this person to feel loved, to feel validated, to feel peace. And that's all illusion, because you already have all those things within you. You don't need to search anywhere outside of yourself for that. The ego is what tricks you into believing that that's what you need to do, so it becomes this repetitive cycle that's full of addiction and obsessive fear-based energy. You want to really step back and be mindful of that and notice when the ego is trying to get you to do that, because it's something that needs to definitely be broken. Like, that cycle needs to be broken. And if you're going through 3D separation, I really, really, really would highly suggest to cut your twin flame off completely and focus on your ascension and enlightenment. That is what needs to be done. Otherwise, you can go through this runner-chaser cycle for years and years and years, and you do not want to be stuck in that. So as hard as it is, you have to cut them off, and you have to just focus on you and your ascension. The part where you say, is it love or is it convenience? That's such an important question to ask, because we've really been conditioned as a society to believe that attachment, conditional love, and codependency is love, and it is not. A lot of the times, if it's to feed something that your ego needs to have fed, where it's like, I need this person to feel loved, validated, justified, whatever it is, right? That's not truly love. It's an attachment, and it's you relying on a source outside of yourself to feel those things temporarily. But when the person goes, then what are you left with? So this whole journey is really to align with your own soul and to feel those things within you first before trying to seek them from somebody else outside of you. That's really the lesson here. So yeah, like, make sure that you observe that and notice when the ego is trying to come in. Anything that's fear-based is all ego. And you are not the ego, you are the soul, which is pure peace, consciousness, love, and Zen. Okay, so next, this is a good one, you guys. Okay, do you advise telling your twin flame that you are their twin flame and explain the whole thing, or no? You guys, this is so good. So your ego is gonna want to tell your twin flame that y'all are twin flames, that you're meant to be together, that like you're destined to be together, right? That's what the ego wants. It's like, yo, I need control over this situation, and I need this person to know the truth, and da 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 da. Okay, so no, I do not suggest you going and telling them. You can if you want. There's nothing wrong with that. You can do it if you want, but that's just going to push them away even more. That's your fear-based energy pushing towards your twin flame, wanting them to validate this experience for you, and that's not going to work on this journey. It's not. That's something that needs to be transmuted within the self. It's an egoic thing that needs to be released, really, pretty much. You wanting, or your ego wanting to tell this person that y'all are twin flames is out of fear. Because when you don't trust the process and you don't surrender to the universe, when you don't trust the soul, then your ego's like, I want to control this outcome somehow. I have to. So I'm going to tell him, because then that'll make a difference, and maybe he'll realize that we're meant to be together and we have this beautiful connection and, you know, all these things. And I don't blame you at all. I've been there. But, you know, that's something that really needs to be observed. And I wouldn't suggest doing it, because that's your fear-based push energy pushing towards your twin flame. And that's going to get them to run even more. So it's not about physical words and actions. It's more so about shifting into your soul and aligning with your soul energy, so that you can really feel that peace, and from there you can then magnetize your twin flame in. And, you know, people who are in permanent union with their twin flames, some twin flames out there don't even believe in twin flames. Like, the divine masculine doesn't even believe in it, but they're in union. And that's a total myth that the divine masculine has to be awakened to be in union with you. No, it's all energy. If you align with Zen and peace, which is your soul, then that's how this whole thing works, right? It's a paradox. So you don't need to tell your twin flame. You really don't. Intuitively follow what's right for you, but I would not suggest doing it, just because that is your fear-based energy wanting to tell them. Next question. What happens to the connection if the divine masculine has a child while in separation? So there's nothing that happens to the connection, really. You guys are one soul, right? This is a soul. You're this. You and your twin flame are this one, incarnated in two vessels. A connection would be this soul and another soul coming together, and it's a connection. That's not you. You're not that. You and your twin flame are this. You're one. Okay? So there's nothing that happens because y'all are always going to remain one soul, no matter what. A child just means that this person has a child now. That doesn't mean that you and this person will never be together in this lifetime. Everything comes from your own energy and how you're approaching the situation energetically. If you're fearing that, oh no, my twin flame has a child now, and that means we'll never be together, then that's your fear-based energy pushing towards your twin flame, which will keep them in physical separation from you. It's really how you approach the situation. So no, nothing really happens to you and your twin flame if they have a child. This is a really good one too. Do you believe it's possible to meet and experience a twin flame connection even if you've only talked or met online? I'm new to twin flames. Thanks for your time and help. Thank you. Yes, it's absolutely possible. Absolutely. I have met people who have gone through the whole entire twin flame template where it's like, yo, I just saw a picture of my twin flame online, or like we talked online very briefly, and I went through this whole spiritual awakening and started getting all these signs and synchronicities, and they went through the whole thing, like ego death, all of that just from talking online. You don't necessarily have to physically meet in person for that whole thing to be triggered and for you to be put on this path of like awakening. Sometimes y'all will just meet online and the whole thing starts. Is it possible to be in separation doing the inner work while still being good friends? I mean, yes, that is a possibility if that's something that you want to do, but it's not something that I would suggest. I would honestly suggest to cut your twin flame off completely, no contact, and just focus on your own spiritual ascension and enlightenment. Because having your twin flame around physically, whether it's y'all talking, y'all texting, whatever it is, following each other on social media, that's all going to feed the fear-based addictive energy, which pushes towards them, which causes them to pull away, and it's just a cycle. It's very, very hard to focus on your own ascension and enlightenment with contact while remaining friends, because your fear-based addictive energy is seeking this person out physically, and it just gets in the way of really ascending. So I would not suggest it, but I mean, if that's something that is happening for you right now, yes, it's possible. But I would suggest to cut contact for sure. How do I know we're on the right path while being separated? She was the runner, I was a chaser. Suddenly she cut me off with no explanation when everything seemed fine. How you know you're on the right path is by whatever's happening right now in this moment. This is exactly where you're supposed to be. Everything you're experiencing is exactly what you're supposed to experience, all by design in this moment. Your ego is questioning it, and it's like, well, is this really the right thing to do? But the soul has already orchestrated everything, and everything's happening the way it's meant to happen right now. How you are really aligning with this path, though, is if you're focusing on your ascension and your enlightenment, on soul alignment, and not focusing on the physical form of your twin flame. That would be the path that you should be taking, because focusing on the physical form of them is focusing on an outcome and an expectation. Where this question is kind of coming from, that's where it's rooted in is, and there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's no right and wrong here. It's only, the ego is thinking like, well, is this the right thing to do? Like, it's happening for you for a reason, because this is part of your ascension process. So yes, you're at the right place. How do you know you've met your twin flame for sure? I overthink and overanalyze everything. So how you know you've met your twin flame for sure is what you go through after a 3D separation. So basically what happens during 3D separation is, you go through an entire ego death, you have a spiritual awakening, and you start aligning with this spiritual path. You also go through soul recognition, and you go through like all this other stuff where you experience physical pain sometimes. Like for me, I was really experiencing physical pain in my chest during my ego death when I would cry. You know, that's actually a whole entire video in itself. But yeah, like if you didn't really have a spiritual awakening over 3D separation with this person, then they're not your twin flame. It's probably just a soulmate. That's how you would know. So the next question is so beautiful. I love this question. It says, I know it's a process and will take time, but how do I make the shift from fear-based energy to pure soul energy? And is it true that our twin is always with us despite the 3D story? I love this question so much, you guys, because this is actually the entire purpose of coming across your twin flame, is being aware of what is ego and what is soul. So fear-based energy is the ego, and pure soul energy is pure consciousness. It's Zen. It's being the observer. It's higher awareness of the ego. So once you're conscious of the ego, you're already in soul energy. So you don't need to be healing for years and years and years to be aware of what is ego. You just need to observe and take a step back and assess, okay, is this coming from fear-based energy or is this soul alignment, right? And if it's fear-based energy, it's gonna be based on the outcome, expectations, needing things to be a certain way, judging a story, attaching a story to something, and you know, that's all ego stuff. When you're aligned with the soul, it's no judgment, it's pure peace, being the observer. And you can shift into that at any given moment, right now. The thing that is difficult is to be in that mode consistently and to really observe the ego always, and act from higher alignment, right? If you're observing the ego, you're aware of it, and then you can shift and make decisions and take action based off of your soul and your intuition. But when you're not aware of the ego, you're going to act in ways that are based off of that fear-based energy. So yeah, it is a process to be in alignment completely, because as you're shedding the ego, you know, you have a lot of deep programming and conditioning that you've carried with you since birth. And releasing all of that takes time. So don't be hard on yourself during this process. Just keep going and keep aligning with the fact that, you know what, I am a soul made up of pure consciousness, the same energy that source is made of. I am so powerful, and I can shift into a higher vibrational frequency at any given moment, you know? And it's a repetitive thing. It's a day-by-day thing. This is a lifelong process, so don't be too hard on yourself. Just be aware of what's happening, and when the ego tries to take over, and act from a higher vibrational frequency. Next question, do twins have to have their birth charts match? No, they don't. If they do, then, you know, that does happen, but birth charts don't necessarily confirm whether someone is your twin flame or not. You can have a matching birth chart or a very compatible birth chart with a soulmate, and you know, it's just, astrology is there to help guide you and to help you realize what your tendencies are as a person. It's like a little roadmap to your character that you're playing here on Earth. But yeah, no, it doesn't really give you a definitive answer as to whether or not someone is your twin flame. So one question is it normal that I see my twin flame's name in the name of someone that my twin flame was with, and it triggers me every time? It gives me anxiety. I start to overthink. So yeah, I mean, that's normal. The ego is going to be triggered, and you know, this person's name will pop up, and that'll cause fear, and that'll cause, like, you know, issues of, and that'll bring up some issues that relate around abandonment, fear of rejection, lack of self-worth, perhaps. Like, it's just really important to observe what's going on when that fear comes up, like what is causing the fear, right? And just know that every time fear does come up, it's the ego. So after you meet your twin flame and you go through the whole 3D separation, your ego is going to die a painful death. And so every time it's triggered, you know, it's not fun, it's not easy at all by any means, but you definitely have the power to overcome this situation and to align with constant peace. Believe me, it's within you. It is already who you are. It's just letting go of the ego and really shifting into the soul. So the next question: what should you do if while in separation with your twin you meet a soulmate? Should you stick to the soulmate, go back to your twin when you're ready? Is it easy to live without your twin flame? Because usually when you go through separation, it's a karmic, which is seen as bad. But what if you find something completely different, your soulmate? An easygoing, happy, loving relationship. You can totally find a healthy, loving soulmate connection. And if you do, while in separation, 3D separation with your twin flame, and you feel a pull towards that person and you feel like you want to connect, please do. Dive right in. Go and live your life. Live your best life. This is about being your most authentic self, and you don't want to put your life on hold for your twin flame, because that's your fear-based energy that's wanting to control the outcome, right? It's like, okay, well, if I get with this soulmate, maybe it's going to delay the union, and the mind goes off, right? Don't feed that energy. Just go towards what you feel called to do, and as long as you're, you know, safe, happy, and healthy, please go for it and live your life. Okay, next. Is it possible for one twin flame to sense the connection and for the other to be clueless? Yes, it is absolutely possible, honey. And it was a shorter question, so I didn't need to like look at my phone for that, but yeah, it's totally possible. So what usually happens is the divine feminine awakens to the connection, and she figures out that y'all, like, this is a twin flame thing. It's not even a connection, it's just y'all are one soul, and your other self or your twin flame is triggering you in a very intense way for you to ascend. So yeah, that's their purpose, to not know anything about this at first. Some may awaken, some may know, but not all. It's different for every single twin flame pair, right? But you don't have to have the divine masculine be completely awakened spiritually to be in union with them. That's a myth. It's not true. Union can be achieved. It's not even an achievement, really. It can happen. Okay, we're gonna look at it like that, because union is not a prize. It's something that happens if you align with your soul. But yeah, like, it's something that occurs when you're balanced, when your fear-based energy is balanced, when you're neutralized, you know, all of that. So yeah, it's totally possible for one to be aware of it, because that's how it's designed. The divine feminine knows what it is. She goes through this whole intense awakening, deals with all this, like, it's intense to say the least, and she's absolutely aware. Could be a her or him, okay? It doesn't have to be a she. But yeah, definitely possible, and it's pretty much the case for like all twin flames, most of them. Okay, I think that's the last question. Okay, hi love, I hope you're doing amazing, staying safe. Thank you, I hope you are too. I have a question about twin flames. I know you're supposed to focus on yourself and do the inner work and low-key detach, but what do you do when you have to see them or hear from them every single day? Like, I try not to mess up the energy and let the universe do its thing, but I don't want to straight up ignore them either. Hope this makes sense. Seeing them is inevitable. So I guess the question would be, what is considered getting attached or messing up with the energy? I think this is a very important question. So in this case, if you have to work together, then there's not much you can do about that. Like, you can try to find a different job or move to a different location, different branch, whatever it is, if that helps. But if that's not an option, then you have to treat every single interaction as strictly business. You're not going to flirt at work. You're not going to try and look good for your twin flame at work. You're not going to do none of that, because that's your fear-based energy pushing towards their physical form, which is going to cause them to pull away. And yeah, you don't want to do that, okay? So make sure everything is strictly business. no contact other than when you absolutely have to talk to them at work, but don't overanalyze it either. Don't be like punishing yourself and being like, every single day I have to do this and that, very particularly, or else I'm going to ruin the connection or mess up union, or that's all the mind. Okay, so you just want to be very zen, neutral, meditate a lot. If you have to see your twin flame, please meditate a lot, because damn, that's a lot of intense energy that you're going to be dealing with just from being around them after having soul recognition and going through separation and all that stuff. Okay, make sure you're very, very aware of what is ego and what is soul. Make sure you're discerning a lot, because having to see your twin flame every single day while you're still going through the beginning stages of your ascension that's a challenge. That is a challenge. And you're definitely going to feel like physical attraction as well. There's no denying that. So try your best. Be neutral AF. Don't get into anything that's, you know, spur of the moment type, because y'all might be like feeling some attraction towards each other, but if that happens, they'll run completely. It's gonna you're gonna go through it. Okay, so you don't want to do that. Make sure you're very calm, zen, and don't make any rash decisions in the coffee room. Yeah, I think I've answered every single question. I don't know. If I did not, then I will make a part 2, okay? Because you guys are asking some real good questions, and I loved answering them. Again, all the answers are within you already. I'm just helping to remind you, okay? You guys already know this at the soul level. You guys already know this. You have an inner knowing. When you hear the truth and you're like, yeah, like that's facts, and that's because you already know this. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed making this video for you guys. I hope that it was helpful. I'm so glad you guys are asking these questions and really, you know, being aware of what the ego is trying to do during this whole thing, because that's one of the most important things, is to be aware of the ego. But yeah, I'm really, really glad I was able to make this video for you guys. Finally, I'm back on YouTube. Finally, okay? It has been a minute. I just want to keep making videos now. It's so great. I will see you guys in my next video. My next video, I'm going to explain, and I will be telling the story about my own twin flame journey, which will be quite the story. So yeah, I'll see you guys on my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Oh my gosh, I'm really sounding like a YouTuber now. I usually don't like to ask that stuff. I'm not trying to make you guys do any of that, but it really, really does help the channel for real. Thank you guys for contributing towards this content and for just being so amazing, you guys. I love you. I hope you truly know that when I say that, I mean it. I'm so grateful to be connected with you and to just be journeying through this together. Thank you guys so much.